Right then, look at this. Two refreshed, updated, beautiful Ducati Multistradas. We have a V2S and a V4S, both updated for 2025. Updates to the engines, updates to some of the electronics, and all in all, well, worthy of a good test. And luckily, I've been invited by Ducati today to come and have a go. So, well, what's going to be more exciting than me standing here and running you through all the facts and figures? It's going to be me riding both of these bikes. I also quite like the fact that neither of them are red, and I'm especially drawn to this rather gorgeous green. So why don't we go back in time a little bit, hop on these bikes. I'm going to start with the V2, tell you what I think about this, then I'm going to hop on the V4, tell you what I think about that, and then I'll see you back here after the ride to give you my conclusive thoughts. Hello, you're watching Driven. My name is John Marcar, and this is the Ducati Multistrada V2S and the Ducati Multistrada V4S. Let's go for a ride. Right then, now, first of the two bikes that I'm riding today is this. It's the V2 Multistrada, and whilst I shouldn't make assumptions, I am going to make an assumption, and that assumption is that I feel like by the end of today, having spent about an hour and a half on this bike already today, I think this is going to be the one I'm going to pick out of the two. The V4, undoubtedly more power, should be a lot more exciting, should make a slightly better noise as well. However, having spent quite a lot of time on the V4S last summer, I really enjoyed it, loved it very much. But I was pretty certain that it was more power than you'd need. Now this, with the V2, is slightly less power than the V4. It's a little bit lighter in weight as well. But strictly speaking, should be just as exciting to ride, and in certain areas might actually be a bit more fulfilling. So today we find out. What I am going to say is that I absolutely adore the colour of this as well, and as far as I'm aware, the green is not available on the V4. So that, for me personally, is another big reason as to why I'm very much already in love with the V2, having not yet ridden the V4. But hey, maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe I'll ride the V4 later and we'll think otherwise. For now, let's get out about on the road. We're doing a couple of like up and by photo shoot, video shoot bits, and I'll let you enjoy the sound of this glorious, glorious V2. Oh, I mean, already, listen to the way that it barks. What I love about Ducati V2 engines is that induction growl that you get. Also, that quick shifter, my goodness me. I feel like I'm on a MotoGP bike. It's just click bang through all the gears. Oh. Honestly, the V4, it's going to take some beating, it really is. I mean, will you just listen to that engine? Oh. I know the V4 is going to be exciting, I really do know that. But for me, the zip of a Ducati V2 is such a pleasant noise, and the power delivery, of course, is just wonderful as well. Oh, so good. See, the thing is, I already know that I'm going to really enjoy this bike, as I just said. Because a V2 on a Ducati makes sense to me. My first big bike was a Ducati V2. My first super bike was that was a Monster, by the way, Monster 821. My first super bike was a Panigale 899, that was another twin cylinder. And then it was after that generation of Panigale that the V4s started arriving on the road bikes. And I have experienced the V4s. I rode the V4 Multistrada last summer, did 1,000 miles pretty much within just over 48 hours. And I really did enjoy that. I thought the engine was superb. I seem to remember my conclusive thoughts with it, that I didn't really think that four-cylinder, as exciting as it sounded and as impressive as it was in terms of power, it wasn't essential by any stretch of the imagination. It was a bit too powerful for its own good, and I feel like I'm probably going to think the same later on when I get on the V4. How can you not love that noise? It is just, it's like a blend of different sounds. It's like a zip, there's a roar, there's a crackle. I mean, that acceleration and that performance is easily on par with my old Panigale 899, easily. It's probably more powerful actually. If I look at the facts and figures, it's probably a considerable jump up. And yet, of course, and this is where I sound like a bit of an old man, it's so much easier to ride. It's so intuitive to ride. I said to one of the guys actually on the press team, I don't know how Ducati does it, but every bike they seem to make and every bike that I seem to ride, and I know I'm not the only one to think this, they just feel so immediately intuitive. And a lot of new bikes don't feel like that. I've had bikes that I've borrowed for 2 or 3 weeks and thought maybe after like a week and a half, 2 weeks, maybe I was starting to gel with it, but after that amount of time, if you've been on a bike for 10 days and you still don't feel like you've gelled with it, then it's difficult to give it an overall positive review. I jump on a Ducati, and this is not an exaggeration, I immediately feel in tune with it, immediately. It just makes so much sense, and I know that I'm not the only person to think that. And I know that that might sound obvious. Of course it feels intuitive, of course it feels immediately welcoming, because Ducati make race bikes, really, really fast race bikes and really fast road bikes. So of course their R&D and their development and their engineering is all to make sure that that exact scenario happens every time a rider gets onto one of their bikes. But I mean, it's just remarkable. It doesn't make it any less impressive. It makes me want to line up every single Ducati engineer and shake their hand in appreciation, because it is honestly that good. There's something magical about this brand. There's a reason I've owned 2 of them, and there's a reason I constantly go back and look at the classified adverts. At least 3 or 4 times a week I'm on Auto Trader or various classified websites looking at the price of various models of Ducati, including Multistradas. The things that I've noticed this morning, whilst it's a bit sort of quieter and calmer on these roads, I can talk to you a little bit more. As you would expect, power delivery is superb. gearbox is superb. The quick shifter is just magical. It feels like I'm on a MotoGP bike. It just goes bang, 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 bang through the gears, up and down. The engine braking in sport mode is just glorious, and then you can even go into the settings, obviously, and change it to be a bit more aggressive or a bit less aggressive, but in the standard sport riding mode, I think it is fantastic. I've got engine and like general rider mode in sport mode, but I put the suspension into comfort, and you can do that. You can have individual settings, which is a really nice touch, a bit like in like BMW M3s and M5s. You can put everything into Sport Plus from the drivetrain point of view, but then for the ride you can keep it soft so that it feels nice and smooth. Because I'll be honest, firm is a bit too firm. But comfort is lovely. What a lovely, wonderful, brilliant, fantastic, superb, gorgeous, green, wonderfully green thing. I'm annoyed when I come on launches like this because it usually results in me really wanting to buy one of them. And I guess that's a positive review, isn't it? I get to ride a lot of stuff and drive a lot of stuff, and occasionally I'll drive and ride something that makes me go, how can I get one of these? What do I need to sell? What services do I need to offer for me to be able to afford one of these? If you start seeing me doing really weird adverts for like non-car related things, you know exactly what's happened. Yeah, that's going to take some beating, I tell you. It really is. What a fantastic machine. Wow. Now for some lunch.
So good and tasty.
Right then, bike number 2 of the day, 2 of 2, is a black beauty. This is the V4, so we're expecting more power, a bit more weight, and some slightly posher tech as well. Ooh, that's a smooth sounding engine. That sounds lovely. Now this engine does some really clever things as well. It actually has cylinder shutdown, so right now, whilst it's idling, it's actually running on 2 cylinders. So this is currently well, not a V2, because it's apparently the back 2 cylinders that shut down. And the same for when you pull away. And then once you're up and running, the bike realises that you're off and fires up all 4 cylinders. I haven't yet worked out how it does that, because cylinder shutdown is not a new revelation. There's a lot of Audi products and Bentley products that do it. But usually when a cylinder shutdown takes place, it alternates the cylinders. So if you've got a V8, then every other stroke cuts the fuel injection, and that way it avoids things like bore wash. But on this Ducati that doesn't happen, and I can't really work out the science. There might be somebody watching that knows how that works, and if there is, please tell me in the comments, because I'd be fascinated to learn. But first impressions, difference wise, the suspension on this has got the more advanced, cleverer skyhook suspension. It's also adaptive, and it also has some clever things where if the front suspension detects a bump, that it, within a few hundredths of a second, the rear adjusts itself so that it's less of a bump on the bum. And that's very clever as well. So again, beyond the first impressions of just jumping on this thing, first few acceleration pulls, this feels a lot smoother. That's perhaps no surprise. Still makes a hell of a noise. It's still got that nice little induction bark, but it hasn't got the fizz of the V2. It actually does sound like a considerably quieter bike as a rider. And interestingly, that's encouraging me to actually knock it up through the gears, whereas on the V2 I was a bit more excited to kind of hold the revs up high and keep the kind of zing alive. But of course, out of the two, if you were considering a bike to do like European tours or cross-continental tours, you probably would opt for this, the V4, because of those slightly smoother engine vibrations, the slightly better suspension, all that sort of stuff. But then saying that, there's no reason why you wouldn't also have a lovely time on a V2. Okay, so yes, it's a bit quicker. Wow, that's a noise. Okay, right. That changes things slightly. That's... I don't know how well that noise transcribes through the microphone in my helmet, but my goodness me, that was a bark into life, if there ever was one. So I guess what that's telling me is that, yes, this engine can sound wonderful. Again, no surprises there perhaps. But in order to get that bark into life, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to admit that I might have just slightly exceeded the speed limit there. And this is where my relationship with V4s as a power plant, this is where the struggle kicks in. Because My God. I mean, I got to the speed limit very quickly there. Very quickly. I'm not even in sport mode, I'm in touring mode, so I mean, what on earth is sport mode going to be like? Yep, that's a fast bike. That's a very, 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 very fast bike. And again, I apologise if I'm stating the obvious here, because of course it's a fast bike. But is it too fast? Is that necessary? I feel like a strict parent when I say that. Is that really necessary? No is the answer. Am I glad that it can do what it does? Yes is the answer. Now once I've stopped being a massive child, I can take advantage of some of the other lovely things that this bike's got. It's got radar cruise control, which is an absolute joy. In fact, I'm going to turn that on now. And with the radar cruise, you can set your distance just like you could in a car. And what it's doing, it will track the bikes ahead of me. I've currently set the cruise control to 60 miles an hour. At the moment I'm doing 54 because that's what the bikes ahead of me are doing. If I close the gap slightly, I'll get slightly closer, and then at the point that I'm close enough and the radar kicks in, it will start to slow me down. It will also apply the brakes. So it will apply the brakes for me to slow me down. There will come a point where you do need to take over, but that's for obvious reasons, and it's exactly what you'd want. But that radar also does other clever things, like my God! Sorry, where was I? That radar also does other clever things, such as collision warnings. So if the bike ahead of me suddenly starts to slow down very quickly and I've perhaps not noticed it, I'll get a big bright flash ahead of me. But I also have a radar on the back, and the radar on the back is helping me be aware of other vehicles around me. So essentially like a blind spot detector. And just like you'd find in some modern cars, in the wing mirrors you get a little orange light that flashes. It's really close. I was expecting, I really firmly believed that I'd ride this, go, wow, it's fast, but it's too fast. But there are actually quite a few features of this V4 engine that I really like, which is making the decision about which one I prefer harder than I expected it to. I am a bit torn. I really am a bit torn. Right, well, I'm officially a bit conflicted because I was expecting to be all singing, all dancing about that V2, and the V4 has kind of blown my socks off. What an incredible machine.
And we are back. Well, truth be told, I didn't go anywhere. But here we are, the conclusive thoughts after an amazing day. I spent the morning with the glorious green V2S and the afternoon with the V4S. Now, as I said at the beginning of my video, I was instinctively thinking that the V2S was going to be the one that captivated me the most, the more usable power, the more characterful engine perhaps. And then I hopped on the V4S and, well, I've become a bit conflicted. The honest answer is it's close, but I have made a decision. There is a preference out of the two, and for me, it is the V2. It's not just because of the colour, and as I might have insinuated a few times on the ride, I am slightly obsessed by the colour, but for me, this is such a more usable bike. The power band is far more usable. The engine is so much more characterful at all revs. I immediately got on the V2 this morning, cranked the power open up to 50, 60 miles an hour, and it felt exciting. It zings, it sings, it zips its way along. To get that same excitement from this, the excitement is there, believe me, it's there, but to get it, you've got to be doing way over the speed limits. And for that reason, I would constantly be second guessing myself and being terrified that I was either basically riding my way to a police station or a bit of an injury. It is a glorious bike. There is nothing I can criticize this V4S about because it is utterly superb. But if you're looking at riding one of these every day on the road, you're going to have far less stress on the V2 than you are on the V4. There are also a couple of things on the V4 that I really wish were carried over to the V2. The larger screen, for example, and some of the amazing tech. The electronic gadgets, the radar cruise control, the automatic suspension adjustments. If that was on this, the V2 would be the most perfect bike. But annoyingly, at the moment at least, it's not. But maybe that's a little note for Ducati in the future. Could we take the tech from the 4 and put it on the 2? Then this, I think, would be possibly the best bike in the world. You can see more of my conclusive thoughts on both of these bikes with a back-to-back written review, and you can see that right now. It's published. It's driven.site/words to see my full written article with a few amazing photographs of these two beautiful bikes. But I'd be interested to see what you think. Have you had a chance to ride both of these? If you are considering both of these, which are you kind of swaying more towards? Are you like me, thinking the V2 is the more sensible option, or are you thinking V4 is the way to go because, of course, well, it's a V4? Let me know in the comments below and I'll do my damnedest to reply to every single one of you. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that little subscribe button if you're just joining us for the first time, and perhaps even the little bell to get notified of when the next video gets uploaded. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. I'm now going to try and steal this without anyone noticing.